All right, we are live. So, before we get started, hello, I'm Howard Mann, creator of Conscious Shifting, and welcome to Conscious Shifting. Quick disclaimer and warning: conscious shifting and all known side effects will improve your physical, mental, and spiritual health while creating the ideal environment for spiritual awakening, helping you to live the life of your dreams, influence the world in a positive way, and create the ideal environment for spiritual awakening. All right, so let's start with the question of the week, which is: I want to be more spiritual, but I'm afraid. Can you help? I assume that the fear is over loss of control. And this stems from a false sense of control that you believe that you have. You cannot lose control over something that you have no control of. Regardless, there's nothing to fear. It's scary because it's the unknown, but there's nothing to fear in spirituality. Spirituality is not dark. Quite the opposite. You may have some dark beliefs, thoughts or emotions that scare you, but those aren't real. And just like the boogeyman in the dark, if you turn on the light, the boogeyman disappears. And that's because he was never there in the first place. It was all a figment of your imagination. Light reveals the truth. And that's what spirituality is. So spirituality is a journey of self-discovery. Seeking the truth is enlightening. You expose your false beliefs for what they are. You bring yourself out of spiritual darkness and into the light. And this journey results in an ever-increasing understanding of who and what you are. Self-realization can be compared to a flower blossoming to its full potential. There's everything to gain and nothing to lose. So I hope that helps. All right. Let's see who we have in here so far. I see Cheryl, Love, Laugh, and Be Happy in the house. Thank you, Cheryl. I see Tracy. Awesome. And I see Kathy. Just received the new book. Came in the mail yesterday. Just waiting for my glasses to come so I can read it. Congrats. Well, you're welcome. So here's what's going on with the book. And you got the first copy, by the way. I did order some author copies. They always take a couple weeks. And I ordered myself a copy, paid full price for it because I wanted to see the book before a couple weeks goes by. And it came today. But it's only the paperback version that's available right now. So if you guys want the paperback version, you can go to Amazon. It's on there. But hopefully this week, there's an issue with the file for the cover. Trying to upload it for the ebook and the hard cover book. Both of those editions will be available hopefully this week, but I'll let you know. And I'm thinking about doing audible versions of Limited to Limitless and the new one, which, matter of fact, I'll show it to you. That's the new book. In fact, as a little bit of a teaser, here, I'll do this. Since it's been so late getting that, there's all these delays with the technology, but I'll read you just a small little spiffit right here. It's about, I don't know, not quite halfway through the book. And it says, there are endless problems with believing you're a mind body, and all of them create chains of emotional bondage. First, this mistaken identity causes you to believe that you're your thoughts and emotions rather than understanding that your thoughts and emotions are merely something you have. In the confusion, you then believe a falsehood and suffer as a result. Your suffering forms your chains of emotional bondage. However, ego has a solution for all of your problems. Ego compensates for its total lack of higher consciousness by anointing itself God. Ego would rather rule over hell than accept higher truths because ego is then exposed for the fraud that it is. Lower levels of consciousness are identified with ego. Thoughts and emotions are then confused with reality, and any threats to that reality are met with varying degrees of aggression. Ego sees all that doesn't serve ego as the enemy. The more of a threat to ego's reality someone or something is, the more vicious ego becomes. And so ego hates God because God is supreme consciousness, and supreme consciousness is something that ego can never be. Rather than look into the mind where the problem exists, ego projects blame outward. This prevents healing and chains you to emotional bondage. All right, so that's a little sampler of what's in there. And when the ebook and the hardcover become available, I'll let you know, probably by next week's live. So let's see. Cheryl, you're on the launch team. I'll send you a copy once, but I'll email you and I'll let you know. Hi, Trey. What's going on with that? That's the reason I haven't contacted anybody, because every time I think we're going to get somewhere, there's some other little glitch, but we're very close. The only thing that's holding it up is a file that I have to upload that makes the cover work with the different formats. It worked with the paperback, but it's a little bit different for the hardcover. The dimensions are different, and the ebook is electronic. So it's completely different too. And I just need to get those straightened out, and then we're good. It is a nice cover. Don't you think it came out well? I love it too. Thank you. Awesome, Cheryl. I love to hear that. I'm hoping that a lot of people are helped a lot by what's in this book. It's always why I write them. I want people to learn to self-heal. You know, there's only so much we can talk about each night in the live. The book, you know, it can be a more in-depth conversation. Hi, Susan. How you doing? Yeah, it's the topics. You know, it's what I do, just like the lives. It's abstract, talks about things that are kind of out there. But myself being a simpleton, if any gift I have, that's what it is. I'm able to translate that into very simple language. I think most of you that have read the first book will say that it's simple read, just complex information, but presented in a very simple way, easy to understand. So let's get on with tonight's topic, which is, who is the observer? Now, many people, including doctors and scientists, believe that we're nothing more than a collection of our thoughts. Furthermore, some go as far as to state that any concept of self is just a sophisticated, can't even say the word, that any concept of self is just a sophisticated function of the brain. Consequently, they believe that consciousness expires with the body. However, in proper meditation, we learn to be aware. We learn to observe our thoughts and emotions. So, who is watching? Who is the witness? Exactly who is sitting there in the stillness? You cannot be both the observer and the observed. There's awareness taking notice of bodily sensations. So who is this awareness? Who is the observer? And we'll do a healing circle along these lines tonight to help you with this. But that's the gist of it. You know, you sit in meditation and, you know, you learn to just simply watch without reacting to and without judging your thoughts and emotions. And so if these people are right, these intellectuals, these doctors, these scientists, if they're right, if consciousness is nothing more than a sophisticated function of the brain, then who is it that's sitting there watching? Right? I mean, if we are our thoughts and emotions, how is it that we can sit there in meditation and watch them? It's kind of like a television set. You can watch things on the TV, but you're not the TV, and you're not what's being played on the TV either. You're observing the TV. You can't be the TV and watching the TV, in other words. So you can't be the observer of your thoughts and emotions and at the same time be your thoughts and emotions. So then consciousness is not some sophisticated function of the brain. It can't be. That would make it impossible. So what I usually say to people at this point when we're on this topic or conversation is, please allow me to introduce yourself to you. Now, does it sound strange to hear me say that? Probably. But spend a minute getting to know, or a moment, not a minute, just a moment, spend a moment getting to know yourself before we continue. Because you're not your thoughts and emotions. You are the observer. So just think about that for a moment. You are the observer, and you can sit and watch or witness your thoughts and emotions. So who are you then? That's the topic of tonight's live. My third book. Actually, you know me too well, and I've already started it. I'm already working on it a little bit here and there, but I'm going to take it a little bit easy. I really cranked the first two out, and as invigorating as it is, it also drains me because of all the other stuff I've got going on. You know, I've got the lives here, and I've got a business that I work all week long that has nothing to do with any of this. And, you know, and a life as well. So, you know, I get tired too. I'm a human, but I am actually already starting to write the third book. Hi, Lisa. How you doing? Cheryl says that it's becoming aware that we are not our thoughts. Exactly. Hi, Linda. Yes, you are the observer. That's it. All right. So when most people have this experience, when they have that realization, it's their first conscious experience with awareness of self. Now, that's a big sentence, but, you know, awareness of what is presence. You hear people talk about this, but sometimes, you know, people know the language, but they don't really communicate it very well. They may not quite understand it themselves. It's something you really have to experience. Some people have had previous experiences with presence, but without really understanding that that's what was going on. They just know that something was different. For example, have you ever had an experience where time just seemed to stand still? It's as if one of them sci-fi movies where they, you know, somebody has a little stopwatch or something and they push the button and everybody freezes. It's kind of like that. Or it can be. And this is common during an emergency or some really traumatic event. You'll find that oftentimes there's this, it's a weird sensation, but it's as if time stopped and everything is in a way peaceful, even though it can be in the midst of an emergency or something truly traumatic going on. There's a calm about it. And your senses become so alive that later on, when you look back on it, you think it was some kind of superhuman experience. I mean, that's the way it kind of, the aftertaste is. It's as if you weren't even there, yet at the same time, you were aware of everything. And perhaps in that moment, you found yourself capable of things that you would have previously thought impossible, you know, except maybe in a dream or something like that. It's kind of like that. So, for example, dramatic increases in focus. Very acute detail is obvious. Speed, courage, physical strength are, it's common for those to be heightened. Many people experience a total sensation of well-being and oneness. And that's why I say it's almost like you're not even there, because you're one with everything. There's no separation whatsoever. That's complete and total presence. These are all indications of experiencing presence, but total presence, there is no I. There is no you, there's no us, there's no them, there's no here, there's no there. It's all just one thing. And there's no past or future either. It's just one thing. It is what it is. Let me check and make sure I haven't lost anybody, or there's some questions that have come up. Hi, Carrie. Lisa says, yes, true. Time freezes over, goes into slow motion. Exactly. Kim says, first time she thought, what just happened? Cheryl, lightning struck a tree outside my house today, and time stood still in a ball of fire that appeared with a big boom. Well, there you go. There you go. So you see what I mean. Some of you have had this sensation before, but that's what presence is. And in that presence, you are not identified with past, future, us, them type of stuff. There's just this one thing. So you are very much connected to your spiritual essence. Now, most people are brainwashed into becoming one with the subconscious mind, and they don't really differentiate between the subconscious and conscious. You know, they think they're one and the same. We're raised this way. We're beings that are conditioned to the point of unconsciousness, totally identified with the subconscious while believing that we're conscious. Now, for thousands of years, this is what we've been taught, and that's why the illusion is what it is. And as a result, for the most part, we're prisoners of our own minds, prisoners of subconscious programming. And we've been reduced to human robots in many, many ways. And the basis for most of your thoughts and emotions is your subconscious programming. But when you enter even basic consciousness, which is now, stepping the game up, you go from instinct to subconscious and then into basic consciousness. But you can enter into basic consciousness and you can actually start to be aware of the present moment. But in the beginning, at least, you're still identified with the ego. You're still identified with your intellectual process. You only see through the viewpoint of the human mind body, the ego. Now, calculators are very useful. The ego is a very sophisticated calculator of the human mind body. It's a great tool, a tool that you can use. However, it's not who you are. Even a brilliant intellect, even a genius without spiritual awareness is still just intellectual capacity, a great calculator, a great ego. That's all. So you have to step the game up. You see, it doesn't really have much to do with smarts because, like I say, you can be a genius and still be spiritually unconscious. Still not understand who and what you are. Still not understand the grand scheme of things. Still not understand what's really going on here. Didn't need any more coffee after that, huh, Cheryl? God moment indeed. Kim. But it does make one wonder, what were you thinking about, Cheryl? I mean, right before that lightning struck. Hi, Anna. How you doing? Oh, that's a riot. All right. So now what'll happen is that, with this expanded awareness, there's always a shift in consciousness. And sometimes the shift is huge. Such is the case when you realize that you're not your thoughts and emotions. The shift from subconscious identification to basic consciousness is a whopper. It's huge. It's as if somebody literally flipped on a light switch. I mean, it's that dramatic. You go from a dark room to a fully lit room, and you see everything for what it is. I mean, it's huge. And first, your viewpoint changes. And then you no longer falsely identify with your thoughts and emotions. Now you have them, but you don't identify with them. You don't believe that they are you. They're just something you have. It's like you got 2 ears and toenails and you got thoughts and emotions. So then it's no longer necessary to act on nor react to your thoughts and emotions. You have them, but again, they're not who you are. So you observe your thoughts and emotions as they rise and fall. They're merely mind-body phenomenon. That's all. And then you're freed from subconscious control. You become the observer rather than being in bondage. I get into this a little bit in the book too, the new one. So your life changes in ways that you couldn't have imagined. You're no longer a slave to your thoughts and emotions. You're no longer compelled to act out. This newfound awareness teaches you about self and your programming. In each moment, you consciously decide which thoughts and emotions to act upon. That changes everything. They don't just come up and you act on them. They don't just come up and you believe it's reality. They come up and you decide, is this something I want to manifest into reality? Or am I going to just let this go? It's a completely different way of living. And that allows you to avoid useless and destructive behaviors because you can go, oh, no, I don't want to manifest that into reality. Oh, whoa, where'd that come from? And you just let it go, And if it's really bad, you could do some inner work. We'll talk about that another time. But you don't have to react. That's the point. So by not, or I should say by avoiding useless and destructive behaviors, you reduce your suffering and the suffering of others that are around you. So it's quite the game changer. Hi, Deanna, how you doing? So here's the thing, though. As huge as that is, the next shift is even bigger. Once you become the observer, you'll eventually ponder a most profound question. And the answer will propel you far beyond the physical world, far beyond both time and space. You're not your thoughts and emotions. You're not your mind body. So what are you? This is where it really starts to crank up. You're the observer, the seer, the knower, but still spiritually unconscious, perhaps. So you continue to suffer. And this can be to varying degrees, by the way. You can start to understand spiritual things, but not everything all at once. So as you rise in consciousness, your suffering will decrease. So it's like that. The higher you rise, the more your suffering decreases. Not necessarily just everything all at once. So then, well, what are you suffering from? The spiritual amnesia is what you're suffering from. And spiritual amnesia is the cause of your suffering. So you have spiritual amnesia. In other words, you're suffering from spiritual amnesia, like any other disease, but it's actually the cause of your suffering. You've forgotten who and what you are, in other words. But the awareness will continue to expand. In meditation, you learn to be the observer of your thoughts and emotions. How can you be both the observer and the observed? You can't. So what are you then? Okay, here we go. If you're not your thoughts and emotions, then you're not a product of your brain. And can the awareness possibly expand any further? Oh, yeah, much further. You have a mind body, but you're not the mind body. Therefore, you're in a physical world, but not of the physical world. And this realization is extremely liberating because this is the beginning of spiritual awakening. Your awareness will continue to expand beyond your central nervous system with all of its thoughts and emotions, far beyond the human mind body, and not just beyond the spiritual amnesia that you're suffering from, but far beyond the physical world, beyond time and space. Check all that at the door. But the door to what? Beyond the physical is the non-physical. In other words, the spiritual realm. Higher consciousness. Boom. That's it. If you're not physical, then you must be non-physical. And another word for non-physical, consciousness, is spirit. Just playing with words at this point. But the definitions are all the same. There, you realize who and what you are. The emergence of spiritual consciousness while in human form. That is a quantum leap. So are you starting to see why meditation is so relevant? I mean, it's used for all kinds of things, but it's meditation is the middle ground. It's the doorway between the physical and the spiritual realms. You'll learn how to open that door and go through it in meditation. You're the observer, spirit in essence, human in form. And this newfound awareness is called spiritual awakening. This is what you've been searching for. It doesn't exist outside you. It is deep within, very deep within. On some level, you've always known this to be true, but somehow you forgot, and that's spiritual amnesia. However, you are consciousness, pure consciousness, energy, spirit, right? By simply sitting and observing your thoughts and emotions, spirit will emerge. That's what happens in the higher stages of meditation. So let me check and see if there's questions about that. That's what I had to say about who is the observer. And then we'll move on to a healing circle. I don't know if somebody's come up on the property or what's going on, but that's Boba Fett. And the macaw is the other watchdog you probably hear going off in the background. Awesome, Deanna. Awesome. Well, you've been in our prayers. You have. And you've been in several of the healing circles. So I knew you were doing better. But it's good to hear. It's good to see you here. Hi, Tina. How you doing? Yeah, good point. What are you then? Exactly. That is the profound questions of all profound questions. You know, well, if I'm not physical, you know, then what am I? Well, non-physical. Okay, well, what's that? Well, there's many words to describe that, but non-physical is just what it says, non-physical. There's no form, there's no matter, there's no time, there's no space, there's no me, there's no you. non-physical. In other words, spirit. It is epic, huh? It truly is. It truly is. Okay, Tina's asking, so if I'm not physical, why can I feel a body on me? Because you are in a physical body. So sometimes a lot of what I talk about is multidimensional. In other words, there's always what's going on in the physical world because we live in a physical world. We actually temporarily, although it may be, we are inhabiting a physical body. But we are spiritual beings. So spirit is beyond all that. None of this matters in the spiritual realm. There's no political affiliation. There's no sex. There's no male or female. There's no sexual orientation. There's not even, you can't even say, well, am I male or female? There's no race. There's no category that you can separate people into because there's no people. There's just this non-physical consciousness. God, if you want to. You can call it God. It is a conscious energy beyond the physical realm. But getting back to your question, when we descend into matter, when we come into these physical bodies, then we experience this reality through the physical body. So we see and we hear and we smell and we taste and we feel things, all because this physical body has physical sensory perceptors and a brain to kind of take this information and interpret what it means. And then it sends out energy through the central nervous system to all parts of the body. That's what animates the body and makes it function. The body then talks back to the brain through the central nervous system in the form of emotions. So you've got all this going on within the mind body, and because you're in the mind body, you experience all of this. Not a problem. We come here for that very reason. We come here to express our spiritual selves through physical being. The problem is that somewhere along the way, we kind of got lost and forgot who and what we are and started identifying with the physical mind body that this is what we are. Our thoughts and emotions, there's no difference between them and us. This physical body is it. It expires and we expire too. In the physical world, that's the only reality. It's not so. It's not so. And we'll do different topics that talk about it from different perspectives. But the bottom line is that's what it is. You're a spiritual being, but you happen to be in a physical body, so you're going to experience things through that physical body. The spiritual consciousness is simply doing so without forgetting who and what you are. In other words, you live life here in the physical realm. You live life in a physical body, but what you're really doing is you're expressing, when you're enlightened, I should say, when you've stepped up your consciousness into spiritual consciousness, you're expressing your spiritual essence through a physical body into a physical realm. The whole point of all of this, consciousness expanded for the explicit purpose of expressing itself, and it's doing so in a physical realm. An example that I've used and like to use is that in order for an artist, a musician, to express themselves musically, you have to have the musician, you have to have the musical instrument, and you have to have a physical realm capable of sound waves. Because only then can music be expressed. So if you want to express yourself musically, you have to be in a physical body and in a physical realm. Well, it's the same with spirit. In order to express itself, it found a place to do that, and created this physical realm. And that's what we're here to do. It's not a problem as long as we remember that that's what we're here to do. When we start identifying with all of this and we get caught up in all the distractions, then it kind of interferes with that expression or that spiritual journey. We get caught up in, I'm a Democrat or a Republican, or, I'm straight, or I'm gay, or I'm black, or I'm white, and all this nonsense, window dressing. Like, what shirt are you wearing? Well, okay, it's a shirt. It's not who you are. So that's what I mean when I say I start identifying with it. If I thought I was this Hawaiian shirt, there'd be a little bit of an issue, right? But for some reason, when we think we're our thoughts and emotions, everybody accepts it as the norm, because it is the norm. But we've been brainwashed into identifying with the viewpoint of the ego. It's necessary to operate here in the physical realm. That's what all these senses and the brain and the body and all this stuff is about. We have to have all that to navigate time and space. It's not who and what we are. It's kind of like another example I like to use. You want to go get some ice cream. So you jump in your car and you drive down to the market. But you're not the car. That's just the vehicle you get in to travel down to the market. Right? Well, the human body is the same thing. It's the vehicle that you utilize while you're in the physical realm. Deep question. Yeah. Happy dogs and birds here. Yeah. Deanna says, great topic. I feel like spiritual awakening has hit me again. It moves me. Good. That's what should happen. Shifts in consciousness take you from a lower place to a higher place. And so that's good. It should move you. That's very good. It means that there's growth, there's progress, that you're learning to express yourself, your true self, which is why you came here. Good. Cheryl says, I am many spirits of love and the fruits of the spirit. Indeed. Dan, I need to catch up from the beginning. Sorry I'm late, but at least I'm here. Yeah. And as always, the live will be on the page. And you can go into it. When you go to the Facebook, and we're on YouTube now. We have a YouTube channel. You can go there and look for Conscious Shifting, and you'll find, I think this will be the 4th live. We're streaming to YouTube right now, in fact, as well. But, or on the Facebook page, if you, where the menu is, and you can pick about, or, all the topics you can pick. There's one that says more. And if you click on that, you'll see a drop down bar. And one of them is lives. And if you click on that, you'll see all the lives. There's, I don't know, going back years now. I don't think they're all there, but I think there's at least 3 years worth. So indeed. Tina, that's why when we die, our spirit sticks around the body, decays and disappears. That's why when we die, our spirit sticks around, the body decays and disappears, and our spirit floats above until it finds another home. Yeah. What's animating the body is spirit. Everything in the physical, maybe next week we'll talk a little bit about this, consciousness and how it creates the physical reality in which we live. But everything here is conscious manifesting as matter. Your soul is expressing itself through a mind body. The more awake you are, the more pure that expression is. but your soul is also manifesting itself as your mind body. So this conscious energy is manipulating atoms into molecules and into cells to create a human organism that it can inhabit and express itself. So where the body is an expression of consciousness, the soul is expressing itself through that body. You see the difference? So the body is a manifestation of consciousness, but spirit is flowing through that body. That's the reason that it manifests it, to express itself in this world. A spirit, being non-physical, doesn't die because it was never born. It is what it is. Quantum physics proves this, that there's energy. Well, they call it different things. They're not going to say, oh, your soul or something like that. But what they say is that energy exists simultaneously in both a physical and a non-physical realm. So in other words, at the same time, the same energy is expressing itself, manifesting, or simultaneously existing in both the physical and a non-physical realm. The physical realm, that's this universe, the known universe. But the non-physical realm, I mean, if you really think about what that means, okay, non-physical, then there's no time and there's no space, because you can't have that without matter and gravity. So if there's no time and there's no space, then there's no beginning and end. There's just, and there's, you know, in other words, there's no past and future. There can't be. There's no beginning and end because there's no time. So there's just, it is what it is. Same with space. There's no space. There's no here and there. There's no you and me. There's none of this stuff. All there is this energy, and it all exists and always has existed and always will exist. Everything that's ever happened, is happening, or ever will happen is all happening right now in that space. And so it's kind of weird, but that's quantum physics. That's not spiritual woo-woo BS. That's quantum physics. It just so happens that it's cutting edge quantum physics. They're just beginning to understand this. And for 5,000 years, at least, spiritual masters have been saying essentially the same thing, just using some different language. But the intent, the meaning was the same. That we are consciousness, that we're spirit. We're all of one spirit ultimately. It has the appearance of separation here in the physical realm, but there really isn't any. In fact, there's not even a separation between the physical realm and the non-physical realm. The physical realm exists within the non-physical realm. It's actually a manifestation of that. And spirit is what's directing the energy. It's this is not a chaotic, despite what you may see in the news, this is not a chaotic universe that we live in. There's order here. There's natural laws that are followed. There's intelligence. This universe reeks of intelligence at the smallest of levels. At the smallest of levels, at the atomic level, there's more intelligence than in our supercomputers. I mean, it's just so that intelligence couldn't have evolved. It had to have always been there, and it's carried by. I'm getting into next week's live now. It's carried by this energy, because we'll get into that next week. We'll get into that next week. I promise we'll talk about that. That'll be a good live. But yes, the soul sticks around because it never came into being, so it's never not going to be. It's immortal, eternal, great spirit, eternal consciousness, God, whatever you want to call it. And we're all part of it. In fact, all of us combined make it up. It's just when we decided to expand and express ourselves in this physical realm, it just kind of turned out that, it looks like there's all this separation. So the process of awakening is kind of like going home to the oneness. That's another way you could look at it. Here there's time, so things seem like they're happening over millions and billions of years, when in reality, in a flash, here we are, fully enlightened beings. But in the physical realm and from the perspective of the ego, things happen over time. So it seems like we have to learn lessons and grow and learn to evolve into higher consciousness. In truth, we're already it. It's just that there's always like I say, there's always what's going on in the physical realm and what's going on in the spiritual realm, and there will come a day where they'll merge together again. They really aren't separated to begin with. It's an illusion, but there will come a day when we will rise in consciousness collectively to the point to where what we manifest is not the reality that you see right now, but what you would probably describe as heaven on earth, because we'll be operating at such a high level of consciousness. That's all we could create. That's all we could manifest, because that's all we'll be. What you see right now is where we're at consciously. That explains this reality. We're creating this. And so, you look out at the world and what's going on, that's where we collectively are consciously. But as that consciousness rises, that reality is going to shift as well. Indeed. Yes, another great question. Looks like you guys are agreeing. Deanna says exactly. Lisa, some people believe this. Some people feel we ascend into peace when our life lessons have been learnt here. Yeah, I mean, I find that the more or the higher I rise in consciousness, the more peaceful things become, no matter what's going on. Just because that's where I'm at, it doesn't have anything to do with what's else may be going on, the circumstances around me. So I would say that's true, but still, anytime there's judgment, there's separation. Anytime there's good and bad, there's separation. Anytime there's you and me, there's separation. And that belief in separation is the fall from grace. That's kind of where we've blown it in a sense, but I know that we're awakening. It's Jesus talked about this 2,000 years ago. Buddha talked about this 2,000 years ago. And most people really don't even understand what they were talking about. So, in that sense, we haven't got very far. But I will say that I think more people, more souls are beginning the journey in this incarnation. So I think that the process is accelerating. Deanna, yes. Why does this take so long to learn this? I don't want to say what I'm thinking. It's too judgmental. It's just everything in its own time, and kind of an advanced concept. A lot of people think that, oh, I'm enlightened and, you all are screwed, but I'm moving on. It doesn't really work that way. It doesn't really work that way, because that would mean that we really are separate beings. The souls have the appearance of being independent, but it's more like rays of light coming off of the sun. All of those rays of light make up what the sun is. And then it looks like they're projecting out in all directions. It looks like they're individualized. But in truth, they're still part of the sun. They're still emanating from the sun. Together they make up the sun. Without a sun, they wouldn't be there. So it's more like that. Souls are to the Great Spirit or God what a ray of light is to the sun. And so when you understand the oneness of things, No one's going home until we all go home, because we're all one being. It really doesn't work like that. It really doesn't. So, it's oh boy. that's a whole topic in and of itself, but I said it. So, but that's how it is. We're all one spirit. And so it's really about all these different aspects, which are all happening, seemingly different stages of the spiritual journey all together. But at some point, everybody will rise. Everybody will awaken. Everybody. And then we will, again, become one spirit, and what will manifest is heaven on earth. But it takes so long because it just seems that way from our perspective. But what you have to understand, and we'll get into this more next week, is that it's all happening at the same time. So it's already finished, in other words. It's like there's these different streams of, but it's all happening at the same time. There's no, 10 million years ago, 1 million years ago, 1 million years in the future. It's all happening at the same time. That's a little bit difficult to grasp, but that's also what somebody in quantum physics would tell you about time, that it is an illusion, especially when you get into that non-physical realm. Evangelist Rashida, welcome. From Pakistan, awesome. Awesome, welcome. Kim says, spirit goes home, back to whole love, and I believe there is a vibrational transitionary period. Yes, and that's kind of what we're experiencing. Tina, I'm starting to get, aha, there it is. The lights come on. Awesome. I love it. I love it. Hi, Sue. Sue's University of Life in the house. Lisa said it's emanating from us when we vibrate at a higher level. Exactly. We are it. We just have a lot of false beliefs that kind of get in the way, Hi, Katja. It's okay. I'm glad you like it, Lisa. Hi, Medhat. Welcome. The answer is ultimately fear. Yeah, I mean, that's a big block for a lot of people in a lot of different ways. But what you're really fearing is the separation. A lot of people don't understand it on these terms, but what you really fear is separation from God. And that's what you're really looking for. And you can sum up all human behavior as either a projection of love or spirit, or a cry out for love. All human behavior, it's one or the other. There's a deep one for you tonight. You guys are awesome. There's a question. Can you share when you finally felt and realized that you're not physical, only spirit? Like, is there a story? There's times where I realized it, and that's, for me, at the point where I am in my journey, I still have shifts in consciousness. I still, if you're still here, you're not done. Let's just get that out on the table. we're all in the same boat in that regard. But for me, I'm at a point where I'll have a shift and I just understand things on much deeper levels than before. But I can remember before this lifetime, I've done this before. In fact, I've done this a lot of times. And I came into this world knowing and having a certain amount of spiritual awareness, even though I didn't quite understand it like I do now. So for me, at least in this incarnation, there wasn't a moment where it just all of a sudden I realized. I came in here knowing it. I could tell you stories about being in the womb, and I can remember it. And I knew then that I was spirit and I was here, and I was about to be birthed into this world. But it's still, I'm still learning, and I have these shifts, and I just understand things more deeply. But I would say for most people, the spiritual awakening, because most people are conditioned to, identify with their thoughts and emotions in the physical world and their mind body. I'm gonna go work out, and I mean, nothing wrong with being fit. Don't get me wrong. I'm a successful business owner. They identify with the roles that they play, and none of that really. It's a game of life. It spiritually, it doesn't mean squat. But I think for most people, there comes a time where they start to realize, like the conversation tonight in this live, where they're not their thoughts and emotions. And so once they learn to be the observer, meditation really helps with that. But at that point, then they start to really have some profound questions. And one of them is, well, if I'm not a product of my mind body, if I'm not a function of the brain, then what am I? And that's the beginning of spiritual awakening for most people. Because when you can answer that, you've started to spiritually awaken. When you all of a sudden it just clicks, and well, if I'm not physical, then I must be non-physical. And what does that really mean? Basically spirit, consciousness. You can call it a lot of things. Spirit, great spirit, God, higher consciousness. It's all the same thing, really, when you get down to it. Hi, Yellowhammer, how you doing? Shift happens. We got to get shirts. See, Tina, and that is the sensation. Spiritual awakening, that's how it is. All of a sudden, you'll just have this realization, and it's like, I don't know how I know, but I know that I always knew this. Somehow I kind of forgot, but I know that I always knew this. That sensation is a sensation of spiritual awakening, and that just keeps happening. And you just start seeing more and more and more on deeper and deeper and deeper levels. And it's on. From that point, it's on. Hi, Shelby. Indeed. Yeah, Deanna, none of it really, I mean, it's just a game of life. It's what we do while we're here. But yeah, in the grand scheme of things, none of it means squat. It really doesn't. It's about how much were you able to awaken during this incarnation? How much were you able to help other people? That's what's important, not any of this other crap. That's all it is. It's just distractions. And not, I mean, I don't mean to knock it, if you want to own a business or have a great job or make a lot of money or be super, fit and fine. There's no problem with any of it. Just don't worship it. That's the thing. You know what I mean? Have money, but don't worship money. That's it. Exactly, Lisa. Exactly. Tina, no, don't. Being healthy is a good thing. It allows you, physical health, nutrition, exercise, all that stuff. All those things remove distractions and make your body work better so that you can spend more time on your spirituality. I can't do it tonight, but I'll ask me about the Shaolin monks next week or something, and I'll explain. I'll tell you a story. But be good at the game of life, but just do it from a spiritual perspective. That's it. All right, so let's move on to the healing circle. Let me get this up. There we go. So I'll make this a little bit quick, but we'll play with this a little. So everybody gather around and join hands. Form a circle and join hands. Spiritually, that is, energetically. That's it. Everybody in, holding hands. Gently close your eyes and your mouths, breathing through the nose, down to about the belly button, and then gently exhale back out through the nose. And another deep breath. Inhale the peace. Let it expand in your tummy, and then exhale all tension, all disease, all troublesome thoughts. Let it go right on out with the breath, and inhale the peace all the way down, and exhale all tension. One more time. Inhale peace and healing energy, and exhale everything other than spirit. How's that? All right, continue breathing on your own. Settle into the relaxation that starts to come over you, and just follow the breath in and out. Let the relaxation happen and just settle into it. Completely let go. Just let go. Allow everything to slow down. Don't force it, but just allow it to slow down. Allow everything to settle. You can do this for a little bit longer on your own, but allow everything to become still if you can, or as still as you can. And then just simply sit and observe your thoughts without reaction or judgment. Just observe. That's what you do in meditation. So there you are, you're sitting in meditation. If you get distracted by your thoughts and you start thinking about what you have to do tomorrow, or something that happened today or last year or whatever, just go back to focusing on your breath and just keep doing that. And what'll happen is you'll get to where you can spend longer and longer periods of time in that state. So you're teaching yourself to be present. And then ultimately you want to try to take that out of meditation into your daily life and everything you do. But the big skill is to learn to just observe your thoughts and emotions, your bodily sensations. They're just mind-body phenomena. So don't fight them, don't resist them, just let it happen, but don't judge them and don't react to them. Just observe. Now, many people, many doctors, many scientists believe that we're nothing more than a collection of our thoughts. And this is what I was talking about earlier. When you're sitting in meditation, you're just watching your thoughts and watching your emotions. Now, they'll go as far as to state that any concept of self is just a sophisticated function of the brain. So in other words, they believe that consciousness is contained within the brain, and with physical death, then consciousness expires right along with it. And that's where the question comes in. Okay, then who is watching? Who is the witness? Exactly who is it that's sitting there in the stillness? There's awareness taking notice of bodily sensations. There's awareness taking notice of thoughts and emotions. So who is this awareness? Who is the observer? Because you cannot be both the observer and the observed. And since you are observing your mind body, You cannot be your mind body. You must be something else. And that's why I say, please allow me to introduce you to you. Since you're not physical, you're non-physical. Your consciousness, your spirit. You always have been and you always will be. In essence, your spirit or pure consciousness. Let's just sit with that for about a moment, and then we'll continue. Okay, now before we depart, you can extend this when you do it on your own. You can just start with your breathing, and then just try to get to that place of stillness without forcing anything. And if you get distracted, go back to focusing on the breath. But just watch your thoughts and emotions. That's the primary thing that you want to do. But something to think about, since you're non-physical, ultimately that is. I mean, you're in a physical body, but since you're a spiritual being, a non-physical being, then once you stop animating this body and you move on, you're just spirit, you're just consciousness. So there's no sensations to be felt. There's no pain, in other words. Without a body, you can't be diseased. Now, there's things that you can only experience here, which is part of the reason we come. You need a body to do that. But I want you to think about something. We'll get into this more next week, but since your body is a manifestation of your soul in flesh and bone, when you sit in meditation and you get to this place of stillness and you reconnect with your spiritual essence, think about the effect that's going to have on your health. Not buying into all of the nonsense of the world. The pain, the disease, the emotional trauma. Just from the perspective that you're a spiritual being and none of that exists. Ultimately, you're beyond all that. And now manifest to the best of your ability your physical being with that knowledge and see what changes it makes in your life. And so it is. All right, slowly open your eyes. And I believe that's the night. I'll look for some last minute questions. Any of you have them? Oops. Almost messed up there. Okay, so make sure there's no last minute questions. Thank you much, all. Deja vu, exactly. Source, yep. You guys got it. You guys got it. Thank you all. Shelby's asking, I love this breathing. I like it because it's in and out through the nose instead of in through nose and out through mouth. Why is that? That's a good question, actually. So for those of you that are interested in meditation, we breathe through the nose for a number of reasons. Now, if you have a bad cold or you've broken your nose or something, then you breathe through the mouth. And there are some, I mean, you ask 1,000 meditators, you're going to get 1,000 different ways to meditate. But the things that I teach here, I do because over years and years and years of my own personal experience and working with other people, I found that this stuff works. But the reasons for breathing through the nose, other than some special thing that you're trying to do with meditation, is because the nose acts as a filter. It filters out dust particulates and pollens. It moisturizes, humidifies the air. It conditions the air. It warms the air. So it also kind of helps with, maintaining higher consciousness, this air swirling through your sinuses. It's kind of like with your eyes closed, but you're actually best to look up around the mind's eye or the eyebrow area, the forehead, to help keep you alert and kind of stimulate higher consciousness. But it's also so that you don't dry out your throat, so it conditions the air, but and helps with higher consciousness, but also not dry out your throat and your mouth. You're breathing through your mouth, your mouth's going to get dry. Then you're going to start focusing on that rather than just sitting and observing your thoughts and emotions. But those are the primary reasons why. You're all quite welcome. Awesome. Hi, Mom. Yes. Kim reminding everybody to drink a full glass of water. Want to stay hydrated. Green tea is okay, but water, water is mainly what you need. When you're doing energy work, you always want to stay hydrated. So with that, I will call it a night, and I honor the God within you. And remember, until the next time, the only way to bring about the greater good is to be the greater good. Good night.